On today's show, everybody's talking about the NBA ratings. They're down. We know why they're down, but does it affect the Dallas Mavericks? Talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On podcast
No one
network.
is.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
And welcome. You are Locked On to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being in every day or making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter. We're getting close to 2,000.
Yeah.
We are number one. We are still number one. We got the official numbers today. We're still number one in all newsletters to get the best NBA analysis and Mavs analysis straight to your inbox every day. Subscribe. Check the QR code, the link in the description. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, the ratings redundancy, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
All right, we both just watched the Cup final. And right now, are you happy or sad that the Mavericks missed out on the final, considering all the time that the Mavs have had off?
I'm just sad that the Thunder decided to miss all their threes against the Bucks and couldn't have just missed them against the Mavs.
I just couldn't help to watch that final and be like, one, Giannis is crazy on both sides of the floor. Two, I was just like, you know what? Cool. Glad you got your medals. I'm super happy that the Mavericks have been at home a lot, resting, taking days off, and like practicing here and there. Like, I'm glad that the Mavericks have gotten this much needed rest because they would still been in Vegas this whole time.
Yeah,
so.
it's one of those things where it's like, it'd be cool if your team was in it, right? It's cool for Bucks fans. Like, good for them. It's cool. You wouldn't think it was cool if the Mavs were in it at all?
No. Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, we would watch it and cover it and be like,
yeah, right.
High.
And you would enjoy it.
But it would be more about like them just playing the Bucks than it is like, dude, Luka got that ring. Let's put the banner up in the AAC. Like, I don't really care about that. But it's good games though.
Today's episode, we will talk about a big topic across the NBA. People are talking about the NBA ratings, and so we're going to give our reasons why we think that it's down right now, because it's down by a lot. We'll talk about that. But then we'll also talk about, does it affect the Mavericks in any way? I don't believe that it does. And so we'll talk about reasons why. There's all these different reasons, but we'll talk about, are the Mavs part of this and all that. So, but let's start here, Isaac Harris.
Let's start.
The Mavs played the Warriors the other night, set a record for the most threes made in an NBA game. 48, ton. So many threes all over the place.
How fun was that game?
I fully enjoyed that game. I don't know if Warriors fans fully enjoyed that game at the very end, but through it, I mean, it was just one of those games where there's stuff happening all over the place. It was fast, exciting, and all that.
Oh, I thought you were going to keep going. Imagine picking pods over Klay.
Imagine.
And doing that. No, it was a lot of fun. One, if y'all follow me on X, 50% of my stuff is sarcasm. All right. And I love being sarcastic on there. And I like joked about the number of threes. And I was like, this is why I don't watch the NBA. And dude, like, started getting all kinds of crap and like people just super protective, and like, guys, I watch the NBA more than anything else in my life. Outside,
he does a daily podcast on the NBA team.
Some of these like kid shows maybe, but no, it was a lot of fun. I mean, especially a lot of fun whenever the shots are going in. It just feels like some like high powered just offense shot going in, shot. But it just like, I thought it was a lot of fun. I think it feels like a casual NBA fan. If they like turned it on, they're seeing all these like long range shots go in. Seems kind of fun. It's just, it wasn't the clip of like that people like to do is like clip 3 or 4 threes in a row that like are bricks and then post it and be like, look, NBA sucks because they just took 4 threes in a row and they missed all 4 threes. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of a stretch, but no, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a fun game.
And so a lot of people are talking about the NBA ratings and talking about, well, they're taking a ton of threes, and that's one of the reasons why people don't want to watch anymore. And these numbers came out after several months of negotiation, or these numbers came out. The NBA was averaging 1.4 million viewers across ABC, ESPN, TNT. So they're national TV games. We're not even talking about the formerly Bally's, the local stuff. We're talking about the national. It's down 19% from last year with NBA TV included. The decline is 25%. A 48% decline for NBA games from 2012. So Dirk won his title, and everybody stopped watching since then.
That was peak basketball.
Down 48% from 12 years ago. And so a lot of people have gone around and asked why. And one of the reasons why people have brought up is that the game. And so I've got a bunch of different reasons. We'll go through them. Let's start with the game. I think the game is one of the reasons why viewership is down. Let's start with the threes.
Can I ask this real quick? I want to ask this of our
say the thing.
One more thing. Because
that's
I don't
why
think
I
we
stopped
said,
earlier. I thought you.
I just want to say this real quick. If you're listening and watching the show right now, and you've watched less of the NBA over the past few years, will you leave it in a comment? I would love it. I think slightly
other teams besides the Mavs. If you stop watching like other teams besides the Mavs, because obviously if you're watching this show, I think that you're, a diehard Mavs fan. But.
I mean, maybe they've stopped watching some national games, but I thought Slightly had a great way of putting it the other day. He posted on Twitter, got a ton of interaction with it, and then did a show on it and stuff on his YouTube channel. But I love the way he asked the question. It was like, hey, why have you stopped? Like, why, if you're one of those people, why are you? Because I think that's one of the problems right now is like so many people that are talking about it or the loudest voices are the diehard people like us that are like, media people that are watching every single game are like, let me tell you why other people are not watching this. And it's like, actually, let's like kind of hear from people. Let's try to talk to people. And that's what I've tried to do over the past week or so of like hearing some of these reasons why, because it is real. You can be a little tone deaf on it if you're like, dude, the NBA is great. Don't just forget about all that. Like, it's like, no, there's some truth of why the casual fan has stepped away some.
And I think there's like 1,000 factors. Honestly, there's so many different things.
Yeah,
it's honestly it's honestly like an election where the Democrats lose and you go, why do we lose? And you're like, well, there's this. It has to be this one thing. And you're like, well, there's 300 million people in the country. Like it has to be more than just one thing, right? Okay, the game. The threes are up. So going back to the Mavs Warriors game, the threes are way up. Teams are averaging. The league is averaging 37 threes a game. Each team. In 2012, back when we talked about the ratings were at a high, it was 18 a game. 18 a game.
Sorry, what is going on in the background? Is that your dog?
My dog's having a hard time right now.
I'm like, do you need to check on Laker? Like what?
I did pull a tick off of him today, which is tough.
Okay.
He did a great job. He was a champ.
Okay, so here's my thing about
he's digging at his bed.
Here's my thing about the 3-point thing.
So it's 37 now, 18 in 2012. It was 15 in 1995. So we went from 15 in 95 to 18 in 12. That's not a big jump there. And that's when the NBA shortened the 3-point line. It was 2.8 the first year they introduced it in 1980. So the change that the NBA has gone out like the last 12 years is double. It's completely doubled. Went from 95 to 12. It only went up by 3. Like that change is so drastic that I think that has affected some people for sure.
Yeah, no, I get that. And listen, I will defend 90s basketball like more than the average person that wants to like crap on it. But I will say this, and I love the post. Like there was an All-Star game a few years ago, and it's probably more than a few years ago at this point, when Joel Embiid was like, it was like into the fourth quarter, and they were posting up Embiid.
Oh yeah, the first one of the Elam ending.
And dude, I loved it because I was like, this is so cool. I love some good like post moves. And so I love some good footwork on the post, all this stuff. But I am not tuning in on a Tuesday night to watch 15 Julius Randle post ups going against the Hornets or somebody. Like, I just don't think, for me, and once again, we're saying what we think. I don't think, and when I talk to some of my like friends and stuff that are just done with the NBA or watching a lot less, I never hear at all, dude, they just jack up too many threes. I mean, you see it online and stuff. I get some of these sequences that you see in some of these clips, and you're like, all right, that's just kind of dumb, just coming down and just like chucking up shots. Or it looks like LaMelo when he's playing overseas and some of his tape, and it's like, all right, this is kind of like dumb basketball to watch. But I don't think I don't think all the threes that you're counting on a box score is just somebody crossing over half court and chucking it, 35 feet from the basket every time. There's plays being ran to shoot more threes and different stuff. So I don't know. I think it's a reason. It is a reason because some people have expressed it. I just wouldn't put it at the top of the list.
I wouldn't either. I would bring it up, and I think that it matters because what we just saw with Mavs Warriors. The other thing though is it has changed the game a lot. So if some people were on the fence or were like, I kind of like this, but don't just like all we do is one thing.
Yeah.
You look at the NFL and how the NFL has changed. I'll compare the NBA to an NFL a couple times in this.
Well,
the NFL,
different.
it's very different. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but just how the game has changed. You know how we talk about passing? The passing is crazy. The offense do everything else. Passing attempts per game in 2025 per team, 32.6 passing attempts per game. 1981, it was 27. Or no,
wow.
It was 31.7. It's literally gone down. It's literally gone up by one, like not even one.
Yeah.
Passing attempt. It is not in rushing. In 2025, they 27 rushes a game per team. In 81, it was 32. It's like it has not changed from 40 years ago. It has not changed. So if you're trying to compare two sports, one of them has fundamentally changed in the last 5 or 6 years, and another one has been the same for 40 years. And I think that's different for some people. And so coming up, I'll tell you one reason why the game has changed that has affected ratings, I believe. We'll talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
So Locked On Mavs brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off your first purchase at Game Time. Check it out. Use the all-in pricing. You just have to turn on the toggle, and then you can see what you're going to pay at checkout. Isaac, you want to go to a Cowboys game on Sunday?
Uh-oh.
Bucks.
They might win.
Bucks at Cowboys, not the NBA Cup winning Bucks, but the Tampa Bay ones.
Never mind. They're not going to win.
$18. You can get it. Isaac almost spit up his drink. On Game Time, it's only $18. A Dallas Stars game on Wednesday, if you're listening to this, $11 on Game Time. Go check it out. See what is available for you on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Isaac, what time is it?
Game Time!
Also brought to you by Rocket Money. I've used this for so many years. Rocket Money has helped me not only to stop subscriptions, which is their big thing, that they actually can cancel subscriptions for you, and they can actually negotiate to have your subscriptions lowered. I had I think it was my Spectrum bill for my internet. They negotiated it and it went down. It went down by a bunch, and I really appreciated that. They saved me money. But I also love it as a personal finance app. It's the app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower bills so you can grow your savings. Brings everything together in one place so you can check it out. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon to use all the different tools they have. They have a tracker that tracks what kind of subscriptions, which ones are coming up. They have different things to track, like how much am I spending on gas, groceries, different things like that. I love those categories and how to split it up and all that. Rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, our viewers, listeners, and wherever you're at. Thanks for being part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you. We have the QR code in the corner of the screen to get all the different ways to follow us. You can get the Locked On Mavs Insiders. I did a mailbag with everybody. We got a bunch of questions, and we got a bunch of questions, and I answered all of them. And so I sent that to everybody today on there. Subscribe to that. If you want to get texts from us straight to your phone, you can talk to us. You can ask us questions. I'll send notes on games and all that kind of stuff. We'll do things like that on the Insiders program. So text that number. All right, Isaac. Reasons why NBA viewership is down. Let's just go. We'll go back and forth on different reasons. So
I was going to say, you want to give your top three and I'll give my top three? Or
yeah,
what?
we're still focused on the game for this one.
Oh, okay.
The game itself. The ref issues. I think this has affected the game.
Ref issues. Wow. I didn't even put this on my list.
They're too involved.
Tony Brothers?
They're too involved.
Jersey sales?
The reviews take way too long. The last 2 minutes of a game take an hour. I think that I think that just wears on people. And that's a thing. But I think the biggest reason why this has been exacerbated to the nth degree, the foul baiting, the hardened ball that has taken over the NBA. And I honestly do think, if we're going to be honest here, I think Luka plays this type of ball sometimes where he tries to grift and get fouled, and he tries to get contact and all that. And it's part of the game. It's the thing that I talk about with Luka, the game within the game. It's part of the game, and he should do that. But the NBA has allowed these guys to do this for so long and to flop and to flail around and to not even have the intention of trying to go for a bucket, but just to get a foul and all that. And then the players whine to the refs, and then they whine, like the hypocrisy of them whining after they have actually fouled somebody versus when they didn't, and the lying and all that. In the NFL, you just don't have this. Like, you have whining to refs, but it doesn't take up a whole, timeout or whatever. Or if it does, that player gets kicked out, or that player becomes a big head case for the team or whatever. I think the ref issues with all that included is a huge part of it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Luka and any primary ball handler, it does this.
They all do.
It's just like part of the game. And yeah, I think the simplest way to put that is like when you go for the foul over the basket, that's what just it pisses me off. And it's just so bad. I'm like, dude, you're just going for the foul. You're not even trying to score. Like, just what do you like that? This isn't basketball anymore. I feel like the old man, like, get off my lawn type of thing. But
and I want them to get it right, but I just want the reviews to be faster. Can we just get going with it? Like, that would be so much better.
I go back and forth on the review stuff because there's a part of me that's just like, dude, take reviews out. Let's just like roll with it. Like, have fun with it.
Challenges. Until
the first time that like the Mavs get screwed over, and I'm going to be like, no, bring the review back. Right.
For sure. All right, give me one of yours.
I think one of the biggest reasons why is because I think the alternative to watching a game is, I think you're going to laugh at this. I think the combination of Twitter plus a box score plus a locked on episode.
I have this.
Like, if you missed a Mavs game, or if you're like, and I'm sure a lot of you listening has done this before. You missed the game the night before, or you just like couldn't watch it. And you're like, all right, I can follow along on Twitter. I can follow Mavs highlights on Twitter and watch dang near every play from the Mavs. I can look at a box score, and then I can listen to Locked On the next day. That combination of like those three things, I mean, you don't want to say like you watched the game, but you're like, I feel pretty confident of what happened in the game. Like, I just think that's a biggie of, especially in this society and culture that we live in now, of like quick. We're so consumeristic and we want to get everything done. What is faster and easier for some people when you have all this stuff on your schedule? Sit down and watch a 2.5 hour game, or I can catch up on Twitter, go through Mavs highlights, Twitter feed, listen to Locked On the next morning, glance at the box score. And it's like, all right, I got the handle of this game in pretty much like 30 minutes if you listen to the whole episode.
We are part of the problem. We have made it too easy to follow Nick, the NBA.
You are.
And we have you miss a Mavs game, like you said, you can watch Locked On NBA Game Night. We do every game every day. You can listen to that. You can follow Locked On Mavs, Locked On Clippers, Locked On Pistons, whatever you want. You can get that. And every highlight, the NBA has allowed. The difference between NBA and NFL, another one, is the NBA and Olympics and FIBA and all kinds of other things. The NBA allows any clip to be posted by anybody.
Yeah.
And a bunch of us have benefited from it. You and I have both posted a bunch of clips and grown our following on social, and that was a big thing for us. And we post, you just post as many clips as you can because that's what people are interested in. The NFL doesn't allow anybody to do that. You can't just clip. FIBA, how many people got their accounts closed or got their accounts suspended because they tried to post some Slovenia clips of Luka? Like, you just can't do that with that league. Olympics, same thing. And so I think that everything's available, and I think that has really affected it because it is easy enough to not watch a game, which then takes me to my next point, scarcity. I think the NBA has a scarcity problem. They have 82 games. That's too many where not all of them can matter, and not many of them matter. So that's why the NBA tried to add the cup, where
but we've had it for a long time. So is the problem the game count, or the problem with where we're at? And because not to go like Pastor Mo, I think it's just more of like a society culture thing of like what's demanding our attention and our time.
Yep. So I'll step back big picture and do my big picture thing. We are so much more extreme and polarized in 2024 than ever before. We just keep getting more and more. How many people do you know are like bored all the time? Everybody you know is busy all the time. They don't have time for anything, right? And so you start to, and maybe it's because we're getting older, but I think it's just everybody. You start to knock things off. You and I, we had a conversation before this where we used to watch college football. We used to watch college basketball a lot. We used to have all these other interests, and it just, as we get busier and busier in our lives, and as other things demand our attention, you start knocking some of those things off. I think the NBA was number 2 for a lot of people. NFL was 1, NBA was 2. and now they've knocked that one off because they just don't have time for it anymore. And we also, with the streaming stuff, you have to, like, where you put your money is where you're going to put your attention. So you're spending all this money on Netflix and all these other places that are just like cranking out so much content to try and keep your attention. That's literally their job on Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu and all those, is to just keep your attention. TikTok, all those different places, just keep your attention as long as possible. Attention has become a currency today, and the NBA just hasn't capitalized in the way that some of these other places have. And so our attention is all over the place, and the NBA has a scarcity problem, which there's 82 games. So that all of a sudden, it's not 17 with the NFL. That all of a sudden there's scarcity there. So you have not as many options, and you have to tune in each week to get the NFL game. The NFL has 1 day a week. You get Sunday, and then the bonus of Thursday or Monday if you play. But you have 1 day. It's appointment viewing. You've made it a habit. We have made a career out of the habit of getting you to listen to our show 5 days a week. And if we drop out of your habit, you may not come back to us. We hope you do. But you drop us out of your habit of listening every day, then, or if we were random, let's say we went, 5 days a week, but we posted anytime. It wasn't like Monday through Friday. We did whenever, or we said, all right, 20 times a month or whatever. It would be much harder. And so I think there's a scarcity problem. I think which games matter night to night. I have this problem as a huge NBA fan. Even I look at this slate of games if the Mavs aren't playing, and I go, all right, which game am I going to watch tonight? And I get analysis paralysis because I'm like, who's playing? Which stars are injured? Which ones are not? Like,
who's playing? That's a huge thing.
Huge playing. So coming up, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the streaming options, and let's talk about some other things in the media. And does this all matter for the Mavericks? Talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Check out FanDuel, see what's available for you. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's FanDuel Sportsbook. The app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL. We're talking about the NFL and the NBA. One of the reasons why it's all down is because it's much easier to bet on the NFL than it is on the NBA. But you can do both in FanDuel. And so check it out. See what they have available for you. The NBA odds they have right now. They have another Mavs game. They do. Mavs Clippers. This next one. Mavs are a 7-point favorite for the game on Thursday. So go check that out on FanDuel. See what is available for you in your area and all that. And if you put down $5, let's say you put down $5 on that Mavs game, the Mavs win. They score, they win by over 7 points. You get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also brought to you by Built. Today's episode is sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer for a bunch of people. Everybody's, if you're renting, you're like, all right, I just send that money and I don't really get anything from it. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks. It's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no cost. Redeem points for flights, hotels, even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built. Check out Built and see what you can get. There's 700,000 hotels. Imagine all the places you could go with just paying for your rent and getting those points from that. Start earning points in your rent that you're already paying for by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Join, Join. Built is BILT. Built. Joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA to make sure you use our link so they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning today with joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, we're talking about the NBA ratings. They're down. They're down 48% from 2012. There's a ton of reasons. We've gone over some of them with the game itself, some of them with the media, some of it with the how the league is set up. Give me another thing for you.
Well, I want to tag a little bit on the end of what you were saying a while ago, because we had to go to break. Of one, you don't know who's playing sometimes. I think that's a huge one. I think of like when I was a kid and like certain games are coming on TV, or even like I've been so blessed to cover the Mavs over the last 10 years. That's like I've been able to go so many games and all this different stuff. But as a kid, I was going to like one game a year, 6 hours away.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I was thinking about that. Like now it feels like players, like they just set out, there's rest or injury management or something like that. And it's like, that's another thing. It's like
you lose that fan probably forever.
Yeah. It's where it's like you travel up to the game and I'm like excited to see Danny Granger play. And it's like, well, Granger's sitting out. And it's
Yeah.
like, cool. All right, we get Austin Crochet tonight. And it's like, all right. But it's like, so I think that matters some. And to your point too about all the different options. So you sat down on a Friday night, you have a Friday night free, and you think about it used to, it's like, all right, well, if you wanted to watch a certain movie that was out that you were looking forward to, you'd have to drive to a Blockbuster, go in there, get the, do they have the clear thing behind the movie up on the wall? Yes, they got one left. Take it, rent it, take it home, go watch it.
Smell.
And it's like, or you're sitting at home, you have cable TV, and it's like, cool. Well, somebody's on NBA, NBC, and you hear the tone again. It's like, all right, cool, we get to watch this game. Now, what happens when you sit down on Friday night and you got it free? Well, I got Netflix, I have Peacock, I have Paramount Plus, which has great shows right now. There's Disney Plus, there's Apple TV
with no commercials.
Yeah, and it's like all these things that we pay for. There's all these different options on top of our busy schedules that if you do have a night free, that's another thing. But if you do have a night free, you have all these different options now at the click of a button. So I think that plays into it a little bit too. I'm tagging on what you're saying. I was going to bring up a whole different reason.
The streaming thing, I think, matters a lot. The NBA is both too available and not available enough in the same way. You go back, YouTube TV launched in 2017. So that 2012, you're like losing cable, and all of a sudden you're getting YouTube TV and other people, and I think that has affected maybe some of these numbers. The NBA also has local markets, which I know these numbers that we're talking about are all national TV numbers, but Fox switched to Bally's in 2011 or 2021. Do you think that affected some people and like lost some people as fans of the NBA? And if you check out in your local team, maybe you check out nationally for sure as well. And then local markets, some of them do stream NBA TV and TNT. If there's a TNT game and the Mavs also have a broadcast, I'm watching Followell.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not watching to listen to Reggie Miller say terrible things about the Mavs the whole game. Right. I'm watching.
You can't pronounce Luka's name.
Right. I'm watching the local guy. So it's too available and also not available enough because some of the streaming things are tough locally in Denver that still can't get altitude for a lot of people. It's wild. So
biggest reasons I hear from my friends, or I was talking to somebody earlier today and just like, it wasn't even playing. We were talking about sports and stuff. And like, yeah, my dad's, he doesn't really watch anymore. He watches like when the playoffs, when the basketball matters and stuff. And it's like, all right, well, but this goes into the thing of whether we like the reasons or not. You have to acknowledge reasons, because I've seen some people do this too, of like they don't like this reason of why some people stopped watching NBA, so therefore they're like, that's just dumb. Doesn't mean that it's not a reason. And whether you like this or not, and I'm gonna tread lightly on this, the politics
I know what you're gonna say. I wrote this down.
The politics stuff has mattered. When you look at it for a certain demographic of people, and I look at some of I'm not close with my dad anymore. We don't talk. It's a really sad situation, but it's like my dad stopped watching the NBA. He's the one who got me into the NBA. He stopped watching the NBA because it got all political and everything for him. I have some close friends back home that I grew up with that had LeBron stuff all in their room, and they love LeBron and all this stuff. They took all of it down, got rid of it, threw it away. They don't watch any of the NBA anymore because it's like it got so political once they stopped caring about basketball. And it's just like, just watch basketball with me, And it's like that affected a lot of people. You can't deny that a lot of people stepped away from watching the NBA because it felt like they got too political and all these different issues. And especially when the right side, the Republican side of our country, sorry, I'm just doing this here. When the right, the right side, prominent voices on the right have been so vocal that so many thousands of people listen to, more than what you probably might expect. AKA, we've seen this in the recent election too. When you have the Ben Shapiros and Donald Trumps of the world that are hating on the NBA left and right, and people follow them without even like questioning what they say, like that stuff matters. So it's like, oh, well, I see these people I listen to every day trash this league and how we, all this stuff. So now I feel the same way. And so they've lost a lot of people because of how the last 5 years have, and all of that stuff, whether we like it or not, it is a reason. So,
Yeah, I respected the NBA more for them like taking stands and all that. And I think a lot of people did, but then I also think that there's the other side. I wrote that down. Players took political stands, and I think that really affected people. I still see it in comment sections all over the place.
Yep.
I'll never watch the NBA. You're still commenting on social media stuff, so you're following in some way, and maybe you're just following through us, but you're not going to sit down and watch a game because you don't want to invest in something.
I don't want to contribute to that.
100%, 100%. All right, I have one that it may be the biggest one, but it's so big that it's hard to like wrap your head around. The NBA is built around stars. They built around Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. They built around these stars. NFL seems more built on teams. Like you're a Cowboys fan. You're whoever's playing for the Cowboys. You're a Cowboys fan. And their stars: Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Burrow. They've been on their same team for their whole
I love
career.
how you're just casually throwing Joe Burrow.
Oh, the best quarterback in the league? Yeah, correct.
God bless.
Correct. And trade culture has grown the NBA socially. Everybody's interested in trade culture and all that, but players move around. I think players move around too much. LeBron moved from Cleveland to LA, and I think a lot of the ratings have
Cleveland to Miami to Cleveland to LA.
yeah, right. He moves all around and then does all that. So they build around stars. The Jordan versus LeBron GOAT debate, I think, like really affected a lot of the narratives.
A discourse around it nationally.
It only became that. That's the only thing we could talk about. Nothing else matters besides the top level, the stars. So all of a sudden, if a star's not playing in a game, that game doesn't matter at all. What we talked about earlier, deciding how to play, like what game to watch. I also think that the NBA doesn't have a transcendent must-watch famous star right now. LeBron is 40. He's declining. 2012 was probably his peak, and that's when the NBA was peak.
Steph's like
Steph was up there too. You don't have a star team. You had one in the Lakers in 2008 to 2012 with Kobe. Then you had the Heat from 2011, 2014. You had the Warriors with 2015 and 19. And now the last 6 years have been 6 titled by 6 different teams. I think that matters too. The people do love the NBA built around the top level, hate the Heat and so
people
you
love their
them
dynasties, yeah,
and all that. You don't have a transcendent star. We just saw this in college basketball on the women's side. Caitlin Clark becomes a transcendent star that breaks through somehow. It's so hard for anyone to break through. Anyone can become famous right now, but not everybody can become transcendent. It's so tough to break through. I was thinking about this. How many of our parents know who Timothy Chalamet is? He seems like one of the most famous people in the world, but or Chappell Roan or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Seems like one of the most famous people, but I don't even know if my parents would know who they are.
No.
Right. So how do you, but they know who LeBron is. How do you break through like that in 2024? It's so much harder. And so the NBA doesn't have that must watch transcendent famous star or famous team that is up there that's interesting like that. College basketball did with Caitlin Clark, and it worked.
Yeah. And that's part of like when you have a dynasty, like, yes, you think about it and you're like, oh, well, only those fans are happy. Well, it's not about that. You got to have a villain.
Yes.
Who's the villain right now? Like
the refs.
I know. So it's just like you think, or even like, you're talking about fan bases stuff. Like you think of Magic or Bird, it's like Celtics, Lakers, and all of that. Like you even look at some of the discourse around baseball right now is fascinating to me of how it feels like now in baseball, the stars more than ever are like the big cities are getting the stars. So I'm really curious of like the Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, like what this will like happen with their ratings, if it'll matter or all of that. But I think if we look full circle, it's okay to say that there are so many different reasons of why some people or a good chunk of people have stopped watching the NBA nationally on a consistent basis. There's a lot of people that's waiting for the playoffs to come around, and a lot of you listen to this, you're going to watch every Mavs game just like we are. In basketball, like I don't have a ton of issues with the product. I think there's different phases that comes and goes, and there's different things here and there they could tweak. I think there's just a collection of reasons why that we've seen different chunks of people step away from watching the game. I think too many people right now are trying to find the needle in the haystack and they're like, this is the one reason right here. It's like, no, I think there's, to your point at the very beginning, I think there's a million reasons why.
And I don't think it'll matter for the Mavs for like 20 years because the new TV deal came in, and the NBA, after several months of negotiation, the NBA reached an agreement with ESPN, ABC, NBC, and Amazon for a $76 billion 11-year contract. The money is like, it's fake. It's all there. It's not going down, right? And so
you might see some weird, like, you know, if things continue to track, you might see some like weird business moves here and there. I don't know how that stuff could be affected, but it's like, we're going to be watching basketball. Right.
For sure. And so I don't think I have one more quick thing.
Yeah. I could go all day on this.
I know I've so many. I think NBA media has been a big problem with this. A lot of Mavs fans were upset about the headline for an ESPN article that put Luka and Embiid in the same sentence. Like, can they both bounce back but in their own ways? And people were all mad about it. And I think what you mentioned earlier, what's wrong with the NBA, what's wrong with the game and all that becomes a conversation every single time. And not like every once in a while, like we're doing right now. This is like the one time in 6 years we're going to do this conversation. Yeah. But instead of celebrating the game, like Luka's 73-point game, the next day it was, the defense was so bad that it wasn't praising Luka. Yeah, it got to make changes, got to fix things, all that. Former players hating on the game all the time. On NFL studio shows, those guys say nothing. But they also don't say anything bad about the NFL or the teams or the players either. But they don't say anything. Like, nothing's interesting. But they also don't say anything bad either. And I think that they're kind of forced to.
I think you can compare NFL and NBA discourse and how the sport is covered. I think it's really hard to compare NFL and NBA ratings that a lot of people try to do with that, because the NFL is just it's just baked into this like entity, it's like
what baseball was here in like the 20s.
Yeah, but it's like it's almost like untouchable because the schedule. But even like baseball and like basketball, is different nights of the week, and all these different times and different things. Like NFL, it's Sunday afternoon. Like, it's been that way for decades. And it's like, yes, they've had Thursday night football here and there, but it's like they've had this one time frame for the most part. There's one game of the week for your team. It's a different type of fandom to like organizations and like teams and stuff. So it's just really hard for me to like, I don't think they're ever going to touch the NFL with that. It's just a whole different system of.
We're comparing 82 to 17. I mean, that's completely different too. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show. Check the QR code for different ways to follow the show. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom. Be back tomorrow.